Greetings, Boogie fans! Michael here, and if you're like me, chances are at some point throughout your various Pokemon travels, you've come across a Pokemon move that has made you go, what the hell does this do? As of right now, there are 742 different moves in the Pokemon main series games, including both the physical and special versions of the Z moves. That is obviously quite a lot, so chances are pretty high that there are going to be some Pokemon moves out there that you've never heard of because you've never come across them. I actually scrolled all the way through that list of every Pokemon move in the main series games and was able to find 15 that I had either never heard of before or had only heard of relatively recently. Considering my extensive knowledge of and experience with Pokemon, that means there's a pretty good chance that you haven't heard of these moves either. So that's what this video is, 15 Pokemon moves that you have probably never heard of. Probably because there's gonna be some of you out there that may have heard of some of these moves before. Probably just isn't in the title for the sake of succinctness. So don't forget to drop a like on the video, and let's start things off with the first move, Quash. Quash is a dark type status move introduced in Generation 5. It does no damage, but the target of Quash will move last in the turn that Quash was used, provided the target hasn't already moved. The Japanese translation of the name is actually postpone. There are only 5 Pokemon that can learn it by level up and 1 by breeding, but there are quite a few more that can learn it by TM, since it has been a TM since Generation 5. All of the dark type Alola forms can learn it, and amusingly, all Pokemon with King in their names can also learn it, plus Nidoqueen and Vespiquen. So it's a very royal move. The primary reason that you've probably never heard of Quash is that it is almost completely useless. The move is completely useless in single battles. If you outspeed the opponent, then you make it go last, which it was already going to do. If it outspeeds you, then Quash does nothing. In double battles, it's extremely situational. Sure, you can force an enemy Pokemon to go last when normally it would outspeed something else, but when is that gonna be better than attacking or healing or protecting or giving them a status condition or any of the many other normally good battle practices? Also, you may be thinking it could be useful as a Z move, but no. If it's powered up into Z Quash by Darkanium Z, the user's speed stat goes up by 1 stage. 1 stage for a Z move. And remember how I said it's a TM? Well, that TM is not easy to get. In Gens 5 and 6, it's a post-game battle point purchase, and in Gen 7, you get it in the post-game area Pony Plains. It's hard work for a bad move, so of course it's gonna fade into irrelevancy. We interrupt this video to bring you a special news bulletin. The For Safety Porpoises shirt, the best-selling MandJTV shirt ever, is now back for a limited time. Not only can you get the original design that you can see me wearing right here, but you can also get a brand new lifeguard version of the design just in time for summer. It even comes in tank tops. These will only be available for a limited time, so get one now before they are gone. You can click the shirts below the video, the link up in the cards, or the link in the description below, which will take you to the MandJTV merch store, where you can find several lovely MandJTV t-shirt designs, including both versions of the For Safety Porpoises shirt. Number 2 is Inferno, and no, I don't mean Inferno Overdrive. Inferno was introduced in Generation 5. It has 100 base power, but a horrifically low 50% accuracy. However, the trade-off is that if Inferno hits, it is guaranteed to burn the target, assuming they're a Pokemon that can be burned. It's basically a special fire-type version of Dynamic Punch, but with a guaranteed burn instead of guaranteed confusion. You've probably never heard of this move for 2 reasons. The first is that its learn set is extremely small. Only these Pokemon can learn it by level up, and only Slugma can learn it by breeding. The other reason is that it's not a very good move, so basically no one ever uses it. 50% accuracy is really, really bad. And while a Machamp can get around that flaw of Dynamic Punch with the ability No Guard, no Pokemon that can learn Inferno can have the ability No Guard, so why would you use Inferno? Basically, if you want to burn the opponent, you use Will-O-Wisp. If you want to do a lot of fire damage, You either sacrifice a bit of power and get 100% accuracy and use Flamethrower, or you get more power and more accuracy by using Fire Blast. Inferno would probably be seen a lot more often if its accuracy was better, but with 50% accuracy and effects that aren't worth that really bad accuracy, no one's gonna use it, so you never see it. Number 3 is Belch. Belch is a poison type special attack introduced in Gen 6. It is base 120 power, 10 PP, and 90% accurate. Sounds great, right? Well, here's the catch. It can only be used if the user has previously eaten a berry in that same battle. So I can burp on command, but a Pokemon can't? That is Belch's downfall. It's learned by a lot of Pokemon and is quite strong, actually being tied with Gunk Shot for the highest base power poison type move, excluding Z moves and Venoshock when its power is doubled when the target's already poisoned. But the stupid gimmick of having to eat a berry in that same battle before you can use it makes the move far too situational and pretty much useless. This berry gimmick is made worse by the fact that the Belch user must either 1, consume a berry it is holding, 2, eat a berry off of another Pokemon by using Bug Bite or Pluck, or 3, be hit by one with Fling. You can't feed it one from the bag, and the Pokemon can't get rid of its own berry by any methods other than eating it, such as Natural Gift or Fling. In short, it's extremely difficult to control when your Belch user will actually be able to use Belch, so the move is very rarely used. That, combined with its relatively recent addition to the series, means that it's a pretty obscure move. Number 4 is Ion Deluge. Ion Deluge. That's not really easy to say. Ion Deluge was introduced in Gen 6 and is an electric type status move. It has a priority of +1, like Quick Attack, and causes all normal type moves used in the rest of the turn to become electric type moves. Like the other moves on this list, Ion Deluge is too situational and therefore rarely used. The only real application I see for it is if one of the Pokemon using Ion Deluge, which, side note, only 10 Pokemon can learn it, happens to have an electric immune ability, those being Lightning Rod, Motor Drive, or Volt Absorb. That way, the Pokemon uses Ion Deluge when the opponent happens to use a normal type move, and then the user of Ion Deluge gets benefits instead of taking damage from that normal move. But that only works if the opponent happens to use a normal type move, which is very difficult to predict. Additionally, only 6 of the 10 Pokemon that can learn Ion Deluge actually have electric immunity abilities. I can see Ion Deluge being somewhat better in double battles, like you use Ion Deluge and then your ally Pokemon intentionally hits it with a strong normal type attack to do a lot of healing. But again, that is super situational, so no one's gonna use it. Number 5 is Crafty Shield, and I had genuinely never heard of this move until I started working on this video. I was actually expecting it to be a dark type move because of Scrafty, but it's actually a fairy type move. Crafty Shield is a +3 priority status move introduced in Generation 6 that protects the user and its allies from enemy status moves for that turn. If the moves do damage, or a protected ally uses a move that targets itself, for example, Shell Smash, they are not protected. It can be used on consecutive turns without failing. Unlike the other moves we've discussed so far on this list, I can actually see Crafty Shield being somewhat useful in a double battle situation. Like, if you think the opponent's gonna Will-O-Wisp your physical attacker, so you use Crafty Shield to protect it on that turn. It's still pretty situational, but I can see its uses. The reason you've probably never heard of the move is that almost no Pokemon can learn it. Only Klefki could learn it in Generation 6, and the only new Pokemon that got access to it in Generation 7 were Yamask, Chimecho, and Magearna. Interestingly enough, Klefki actually had 2 signature moves in Gen 6, one being Crafty Shield, and the other being Fairy Lock. And Fairy Lock is actually still a signature move for it in Generation 7. But for some reason, when I was scrolling through the list, I recognized Fairy Lock and didn't recognize Crafty Shield, so that's why I didn't put Fairy Lock on the list. Number 6 is Eerie Impulse. Eerie Impulse sounds like it'd be a ghost type move, but it's actually an electric type move. It was introduced in Gen 6, and it lowers the target's special attack by 2 stages. For this move, I think the main reason that you probably haven't heard of it is its accessibility. Its usefulness is iffy, since it's not completely useless, but it's usually better to use self-boosting moves rather than opponent-weakening ones. It's also not a move you're probably gonna run into. Of all the Pokemon that can learn it by level up, only one caught in the wild can actually learn the move without using move tutors, since the levels they learn it at are far lower than the levels they are caught at. The one that can is a 4% encounter chance Voltorb on Route 110 in Oris. Pretty freaking specific. So since the move is alright at best, and your chances of using a Pokemon on your team that will learn it naturally are very low, most of you probably haven't heard of it. Number 7 is Magnetic Flux. Magnetic Flux is another electric type status move introduced in Generation 6. Dang, there's a lot of these in this video. It increases the defense and special defense of all allied Pokemon, including the user, that have either plus or minus as their ability. Oh wow, this move is completely useless! Unless you have an all-electric type team plus a Kling and are doing double battles, no one's gonna have any Pokemon with the abilities plus or minus. They are bad abilities, so a move that only works on Pokemon with bad abilities means that it's a bad move. So therefore, it's gonna fade into obscurity. Number 8 is Hold Hands, which actually sounds kind of cute. Maybe it's like a better version of Helping Hand. Let's look it up and... wait. The user and an ally hold hands. This makes them very happy. Okay, that's fun, I guess, but what does it do? Hold Hands has no known effect in battle. And I called the last move useless? Hold Hands literally does nothing in battle unless you use it with Normalium Z and get an Omni boost. It's like Splash. It will play a cute animation, and that's it. So not only is it actually useless in battle, it's also an event-exclusive move. Only Charizard, Pikachu, and Fancy Pattern Vivian are capable of knowing it, and there's only been 11 events of it ever, most of which were only in Japan. Of all the moves on this list, I'm quite confident this is the one that the largest chunk of you have never heard of. Number 9 is Toxic Thread, the first move on this list that was introduced in Generation 7. It's a poison type move, surprise, and is actually the signature move of Spinarak and Ariados. Toxic Thread poisons the target and also lowers its speed, and the effects are separate. So if one of those two things fails due to an ability or an immunity, the other will still work. You probably haven't heard of this move simply because it's so new and it's only learned by one evolutionary line, one that isn't very widely used at that. It's not a bad move by any means, it's just unlikely to see. Number 10 is Laser Focus. Laser Focus is a normal type status move introduced in Generation 7, and it causes the user's next move to result in a critical hit, unless the target is immune to crits due to an ability or lucky chant. The level up learn set for Laser Focus is very small, but the move tutor learn set is actually quite wide. However, the move is, again, very situational, so few are going to choose to use it. Additionally, the move tutor that teaches it is only in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and that move tutor also teaches great moves like Seed Bomb, Iron Head, and Drill Run. So if you played Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon at all, and you got to that specific move tutor, you probably did what I did. Scrolled right past it and ignored it. Number 11 is Fire Lash, a move in the same situation as Toxic Thread. A brand new move introduced in Generation 7, but it's one that's only learned by a singular evolutionary line from an older generation. And Fire Lash is even more obscure than Toxic Thread. Fire Lash is a physical fire type move with 80 base power and 100% accuracy. And if it hits, it lowers the target's physical defense by 1 stage. It is the signature move of Heatmor, since the Lash part of the name is like a whip, and Heatmor's fiery tongue is very whip-like. So Fire Lash is a move that is only available in Generation 7, can only be learned by one singular Pokemon, and that singular Pokemon isn't even available in a Generation 7 game. If you didn't transfer in a Heatmor via Pokemon Bank and then raise it to level 44, you would literally never encounter this move. There aren't even any trainers in the game that have a heat more, not even in the battle tree. The only reason I knew of this move before making this video was because the randomized shiny Ho-Oh that I used in the Sun and Moon shiny race with A-Drive a couple years ago learned it. If that hacked random thing had never happened, I would have never seen the move. Number 12 is Purify, another signature move introduced in Generation 7. But while Toxic Thread and Fire Lash are decent moves, Purify is complete crap. Purify is the signature move of Pyukumuku. It's a poison type status move that heals the non-volatile status conditions, poison, paralysis, burn, etc., of the target, then heals the user by half of its max HP. If the target does not have a non-volatile status condition, the move fails. The fact that it's the signature move of a very weak Pokemon is bad, but the move itself is even worse. It is horrible in single battles. You can only heal yourself if the enemy Pokemon has a status condition, and why would you want to cure its status condition? Additionally, if you want to heal your Pyukumuku, Pyukumuku learns Recover. Just use Recover. The only application I can see for Purify is in double battles, and still, it would be super situational. A bad move on a bad Pokemon means that it's never gonna get used, and you've probably never heard of it. Number 13 is Spectral Thief, another signature move of a Generation 7 Pokemon. However, unlike Purify, this move is actually amazing, if not one of the best moves in the entire game. Spectral Thief is the signature move of Marshadow. It's a physical ghost type move with 90 base power and 100% accuracy that, get this, steals the stat boosts of the opponent. It only steals the boosts, and it does so before calculating damage. Your opponent's Swords Dances? Well, just use Spectral Thief. You will steal that doubled attack and then hit it with doubled attack in the exact same turn. It is OP as hell, and as a fun added bonus, it bypasses substitutes. If this move was learned by other Pokemon, it would be seen everywhere. But since it's the signature move of a Gen 7 brand new mythical Pokemon, the only way you have seen it is if you used it on your gift Marshadow, or if you've done some battles in Smogon Ubers. Otherwise, you could not have seen it, and therefore, you've probably never heard of it. Number 14 is Tearful Look. Tearful Look is a normal type status move introduced in Gen 7. It lowers the target's attack and special attack by 1 stage each, and it cannot miss unless the target is in the hiding turn of a move like Dig or Fly. This move is only learned through Level Up by Bonsly, Sudowoodo, and Wishiwashi. If you used one of these Pokemon in an Alola playthrough, then maybe you have heard of it. But since these Pokemon don't tend to be really popular for Alola playthroughs, at least from what I've seen, chances are pretty high that you've never seen the move before. Even if you used one of those Pokemon and they had the opportunity to learn it, you probably decided the move wasn't very good, chose not to teach it to your Pokemon, and then forgot about it. And the final move on this list is number 15, Double Iron Bash. This is again a new signature move introduced in Generation 7, but not in the Alola games. This move was introduced in Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, since it's the signature move of Melmetal. Double Iron Bash is a pretty solid move. It's a physical steel type move with 60 base power, but it hits twice, meaning it's effectively 120 base power. Additionally, each hit has a 30% chance to flinch, which means, assuming I did my math correctly, you have a 51% chance to flinch the target if you outspeed. You won't outspeed since Melmetal is slower than a snail, but hey, the effect is still there. You probably haven't heard of this move since, like Spectral Thief, it's the signature move of a very new mythical Pokemon, meaning it's hard to find. If you saw the trailer announcing it, that's one thing. But if you missed that, then the only way you can encounter Double Iron Bash in a game is if you have Let's Go Pikachu or Eevee, and you transfer a Melmetal from Pokemon Go to those games, which is very not easy to do since you need 400 Meltan Candy to get a Melmetal, and then you level up that Melmetal to level 72. It's very hard to get access to, So that combined with it being such a brand spanking new move, I think the newest move in the main series, then that means you've probably never even seen it. So there we have it. Those were 15 moves that you have probably never heard of. Let me know down in the comments below how I did. Don't forget to pick up a For Safety Porpoises t-shirt using the link in the description below. And if you enjoyed this video and want to see some more of my Pokemon content, I recommend this video here. All right, that's all I have for now. So until next time, big fans, gotta catch them all.